A man wakes up feeling fine. By sunset, he's too weak to stand. His children are next, then his neighbors. Within days, the village is silent, not because of war, famine, or some giant predator, but because something no one can even see has quietly taken over. Now scale that village up to an entire continent, then the world. History remembers famous battles. It remembers kings, revolutions, and empires collapsing. But if you had to point to the single most dangerous week any human has ever lived through, it probably wasn't during a war at all. It was a week when the greatest enemy in history moved faster than any army ever could. The strange part? Most people have never heard of it. So, what week was it? And why are you alive today when billions before you never had the same chance? When people think about humanity's deadliest moments, they usually picture giant events. World War II, the Black Death, the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs. Although humans weren't around for that one. But danger isn't measured by explosions. It's measured by probability. What's the chance that if you were alive during a certain week, you wouldn't make it to the next one? By that measure, one particular week in October 1918 stands above almost everything else. Not because it lasted long, because nearly every place on Earth was losing. The First World War was already killing millions. Cities were crowded, hospitals were overflowing, troops lived shoulder to shoulder in muddy trenches, ships carried soldiers across oceans. Railroads connected entire continents. For the first time in history, humanity had built the perfect transportation network, not just for people, for viruses. What looked like progress had accidentally become the world's largest biological highway. Then, people started getting sick. At first, nobody panicked. Seasonal flu was common. Most recovered. Doctors expected the same. Instead, patients turned blue, their lungs filled with fluid. Some became so deprived of oxygen that witnesses described their faces turning almost purple. Healthy young adults collapsed within days, sometimes within hours. Entire households became sick before anyone realized what was happening. The disease seemed to ignore the rules everyone thought they understood. Normally, influenza kills the very young and the very old. This one targeted people in their 20s and 30s. The healthiest members of society, the people expected to survive. Why? Ironically, their strongest weapon became their greatest weakness. Your immune system is designed to attack invaders. Usually that's a good thing, but occasionally it overreacts. Instead of only destroying the virus, it floods the body with chemicals that attract wave after wave of immune cells. The lungs become a battlefield, not because the virus is winning, because your own defenses are causing collateral damage. Modern scientists call this a cytokine storm. Back then, nobody knew it existed. Imagine firefighters responding to a small kitchen fire by flooding the entire building until it collapses. That's roughly what happened inside thousands of healthy bodies. The stronger the immune response, the more dangerous the fight sometimes became. Then came the week historians still struggle to comprehend. In late October 1918, deaths exploded. Not gradually, almost vertically. Entire hospitals ran out of beds. Then they ran out of doctors. Then they ran out of coffins. Some cities stopped holding funerals because there weren't enough healthy people left to dig graves. In Philadelphia, horse-drawn wagons collected bodies from sidewalks. Schools closed, churches closed, factories shut down. Mail stopped arriving, telephone operators disappeared, police officers became sick, fire departments lost workers. Civilization didn't collapse. It simply paused. For one terrifying moment, the systems everyone depended on were breaking at the same time. Here's something even stranger. The virus wasn't especially efficient at killing. Its real power came from timing. Most infected people remained healthy enough to travel, to work, to visit family, to board trains. By the time symptoms appeared, they had already become delivery systems. Humans had unintentionally become the virus's transportation network. Every handshake, every train ticket, every military deployment, every crowded celebration, each one was another bridge. The virus never needed intelligence. It borrowed ours. And then something happened that made everything worse. The war was ending. That sounds like good news. It wasn't. Millions of soldiers began moving home. Crowded ships crossed oceans. Victory parades filled city streets. Families reunited. Exactly the kinds of gatherings a virus dreams about. One of humanity's happiest moments became one of its most dangerous. But here's the question almost nobody asks. Why didn't something even worse happen? If the virus spread so efficiently, why are humans still here? The answer isn't that we defeated it. The virus eventually ran out of opportunities. People developed immunity. Communities isolated themselves. The virus mutated. And eventually, enough barriers appeared that transmission slowed. Nature wasn't trying to save us. It simply reached limits. What's fascinating is that history keeps repeating the same pattern. Not because viruses are getting smarter, because humans keep making the same decisions. Whenever populations become more connected, diseases become more connected too. Ancient trade routes spread plague, steamships spread cholera, airplanes spread COVID-19. Every leap in transportation creates a matching leap in transmission. Technology solves yesterday's problems, while quietly creating tomorrow's. But disease isn't the only reason one week can become extraordinarily dangerous. Sometimes the threat comes from something much older, something humans evolved to fear long before cities existed: food. For most of human history, starvation was never far away. One failed harvest could trigger a chain reaction. Families sold possessions, livestock died, parents skipped meals, children became weaker. Weak bodies meant weaker immune systems. Weak immune systems meant ordinary diseases suddenly became deadly. Famine rarely kills alone. It recruits everything else: disease, violence, migration, economic collapse. One problem invites another. That's why historians often struggle to separate causes. Did people die from famine, or infection, or exhaustion, or conflict over resources? The answer is often all of them. Human disasters rarely arrive one at a time. They stack together, like dominoes. Psychologists call this cascading failure. Engineers see it in power grids. Economists see it in financial crashes. Nature has always used the same principle: break enough small systems. Eventually, the big system falls too. Human civilization isn't one machine. It's millions of tiny machines depending on each other. Hospitals need electricity. Electricity needs workers. Workers need food. Food needs transportation. Transportation needs fuel. Remove enough links, everything starts wobbling. This is why 1 week matters so much. Not because 7 days are magical, because once enough systems begin failing simultaneously, each day multiplies the next. A hospital without nurses creates more deaths. More deaths overwhelm funeral services. Overwhelmed funeral services create sanitation problems. Sanitation problems spread disease. One crisis feeds another. The week becomes exponentially worse. Anthropologists have noticed something surprising. Humans didn't become Earth's dominant species because we were the strongest, or the fastest, or the biggest. We survived because we cooperate in enormous numbers. But cooperation has a hidden cost. The more connected we become, the more connected our vulnerabilities become too. The same networks that deliver food across continents can deliver pathogens across continents. The same airplanes carrying life-saving medicine can carry a new virus before breakfast. Connection is civilization's greatest strength, and occasionally, its greatest weakness. Here's one of the strangest examples. Some isolated islands escaped devastating pandemics simply because nobody visited them. At first glance, isolation looks like backwardness. During outbreaks, it can become an accidental superpower. Progress changes depending on the problem you're trying to solve. Modern medicine has dramatically reduced the risk of another 1918 scale catastrophe. Vaccines, antibiotics for secondary infections, genomic sequencing, global surveillance, intensive care. Scientists can identify entirely new viruses within days instead of years. That's extraordinary, but none of those tools eliminate risk. They buy time. Whether that time matters depends on how quickly humans respond. And that's the deeper lesson hiding beneath the deadliest week in history. Human survival has never depended only on strength, or intelligence, or technology. It depends on how fast we learn. Every generation inherits new tools, but every generation also inherits new blind spots. The more powerful civilization becomes, the more important its weakest link becomes. If you could stand in that terrifying week of October 1918, you'd probably think humanity was losing, hospitals overwhelmed, cities frozen, families shattered. Yet only a century later, scientists can watch viruses evolve almost in real time. Doctors can share discoveries across the planet within minutes. A treatment developed in one country can help another before the sun even sets. The same interconnected world that once amplified disaster now gives us our best chance to stop it. That's the paradox. The networks that make humanity fragile are also the networks that make humanity resilient. And perhaps the most dangerous week in human history wasn't just a warning about disease. It was a reminder that every civilization is tested long before it realizes it's taking an exam. The question isn't whether another dangerous week will come. History says it will. The real question is whether we'll recognize it before it becomes history again. If you enjoyed discovering one of history's forgotten mysteries, make sure you subscribe because there are hundreds more hiding in plain sight.